Tonight's episode of Wall of Confusion has been brought to you by Permalab.
Hello, everyone. This is the Wall of Confusion show. We are a spin-off of a Facebook group. If you would like to become a member, friend us at WOCTV Live on Facebook. Wall of Confusion is a group for people who are not faint of heart and who don't mind having their shit torn down. If you're a liberal, a conservative, far left, far right, libertarian, green, whatever, there will be somebody on there to tear you a new one, but you will most likely also find allies. And everybody's pretty decent. I am sitting in this evening with Matthew White. How you doing, Matt?
Very well.
We are going to do a little recap of a few news stories. Let's start with Ukraine. What's new with the Ukraine this week? Russia's taken their soccer team. Russia's taken some of the soccer teams from the Crimea and incorporating them, and the Ukraine's not happy about that.
Well, you know it's all over when they incorporate the soccer teams.
Oh yeah,
they're staking their claim.
Yeah, so, and for those who aren't familiar with soccer, that's a sport, and it's a really big deal once you get across the ocean. I think that the United States, there was a bipartisan group of senators who, along with the Ukraine, petitioned FIFA to
not recognize that?
No, to not let Russia have the 2018 Cup, because they're hosting the Cup in 2018. And they asked them to... the U.S. and the Ukraine both asked if FIFA would yank it.
And
FIFA said, no, they're not doing that. Russia's going to go on and have the World Cup in 2018. What else? You keeping up with Ukraine?
Well, the thing to me that's confusing, it's not confusing, but when I watch the news, is trying to understand when people are being really critical, I guess, about our response, like what exactly
do they want us to do?
Is the expectation? Like what do we do to deter the Russians from not doing what they've already done? I mean, they have troops in the Ukraine. They had a naval port already there with, pretty weaponized, and that's on their doorstep. I just don't understand, barring a counter invasion, like what response are people looking for?
Yeah, and besides, didn't Putin he's like with the downed aircraft, Malaysia 17, he's kind of digging his own grave.
And I think spoiling for a fight. I mean, the one thing, and maybe there's some disagreement on this, but it does seem like when we look at the fall of the Soviet Union, one of the things that we know for sure happened is that they basically went bankrupt. They spent themselves into oblivion. They weren't, right? And from what I have read, invading the Crimea, the implications with economic sanctions and things like that, it's not going to touch Putin. It's not going to touch his billionaire friends, but it is going to have very significant impacts on the Russian economy as a whole.
Right, yeah. I think also, there's the... I remember one thing from this week that they had to shut down the investigation on Malaysian Airlines 17 because of the fighting with the what's that?
Well, the separatists in the eastern part of...
What's that region called? It's like...
I don't... Donetsk?
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe. I'm probably making something up.
No, it is something like that.
Right, they weren't able to go get the bodies.
Yeah, because the pro-Russian militias fighting with the...
I mean, that's scary. I mean, it must be a total nightmare for people who live in that country and think you've got Russia sitting on your doorstep, and there's not a whole lot people are going to be able to do directly.
Okay. That's enough about Ukraine.
Okay.
All right, there's not much to say about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Israel and Gaza, and we are going to play a really interesting video that an Israeli woman took. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
Okay.
What am I about to be exposed to?
It's interesting. Well, it's just a real-time video of something going down.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play that video. It's pretty intense.
Will I see it?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
going to see it. It's
I'm on my way to work, and this siren, oh my god, I just got a call already in Ranana if my parents are okay. I'm supposed to, oh my god, I'm hearing the booms. I don't know why people are not stopping. We're supposed to stop at the side of the road, and oh, you can actually see it in the air. It's right above me. We're supposed to hide. I'm gonna get into the bushes here, and just get down. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! These were like so close. The siren just stopped, but there might be still more booms, and we're not waiting for. I mean, I'm supposed to wait like 10 minutes on the ground because parts of the rockets might fall. And yesterday, a man who drove to the soldiers to give them food and drinks actually died from one of these parts. So I'm just gonna wait here. Just gonna show you a bunch of other people stopping. This is really scary. Just on my way to work. Wait, it's about 9:15, 9:20 in the morning. I'm sitting on the ground. I think we're okay now.
damn.
Yeah.
Of course, that's from one side of the conflict, although.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And that I can't imagine. I mean, well, I can't imagine like driving to work and like that being a, you know, maybe this doesn't happen every day, but every 2 years this happens. Like we have a bunch of mortars and rockets getting fired. That's frightening. But then I also think about what's going on in Gaza.
Yeah.
And the reality that
if there could just be people just driving to work like that,
right.
wouldn't that be something?
There aren't any roads.
Yeah,
right?
No roads.
And there aren't that many cars. And most of the buildings have been blown up, and there wouldn't be any gas. But I want to say I read something recently. There are 1.2 million residents in Gaza. And at one point, 200,000 of them got text messages to leave their homes because the IDF was going to be operating in areas that might impact their homes, which is great. But can you imagine trying to, I guess, move 20 or 30% of the population, and I don't know how much time they're being given, and where the heck are they supposed to go?
Yeah.
You know, unlike, well, it doesn't seem like they had shelters there near the side of the road, but it seems like that's a pretty dire situation.
I think the body count right now is 1,700 to 60-something. So let's go ahead and take a call.
Sounds good.
We're going to take a call.
On the air.
Caller?
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Who am I speaking to?
Hey, this is Clay Thorpe.
Hey, what's up, Clay?
What you guys up to, man? You guys are looking good these days.
Well, I assume you're mainly talking to me, but including this other guy here for just to be polite. Thank you.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people dying right now in Israel. You guys are definitely right about that.
So, did you watch the video?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to catch some of it. I lost internet a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I hear that. I read something this morning that every time there's a little bit of lull in the fighting, people are running back into to see what's left of their homes, and there's even more death. It's just kind of a recurring cycle of death and mayhem.
Well, I'm sure as hell glad I don't live there.
Yeah, it seems pretty one-sided too, doesn't it? With the death count.
With the death count, yeah. And it just seems like that that one side has such an upper hand in terms of technology, sophistication, control of the anything that would be a strategic area. It's very one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, how many people is Israel gonna have to kill before? And really, I can understand why Israel. There's huge support for this Gaza war and wars like it within Israel. And, it's no wonder. It's like Israelis really don't have to see so much death and dying, like the Iron Dome protects the Israeli people like, the hand of God. And it's like, nothing touches those people. They're sitting pretty, and so they don't get to see what really happens, if you don't have an Iron Dome,
Well, people have compared the situation there to what the situation used to be in South Africa, which in a way is not a good comparison because the indigenous Africans so outnumbered the whites there, and that was definitely different for that reason. But at the same time, you've got these people who are kind of being held in these areas, and they have, little recourse, and it really doesn't matter what the international community says. Maybe ultimately they can have an effect, but the country can decide to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed,
You're disappointed in Israel?
Yeah, I really am. It's definitely not good for Western PR, and not that our PR has been really good in the Middle East. Is the West,
Yeah,
but,
that's another statement.
Man, just add this to the list of things that is, the Islamist states like Iran and others in the area are gonna, just one more, piece of ammunition against the West.
Well, what's interesting too about this though is that you have some Islamist states like Iran, and I don't know to what degree they're actively supporting Hamas, but then you also have quite a few states that have kind of beat back their Arab Spring.
Yeah.
That are kind of tacitly supporting the Israelis because they don't like Hamas. Kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing kind of going on there.
In other words, you're saying that the
Egyptians, for example,
Yeah.
right? They've shut down the Gaza crossing. They don't like the Brotherhood, in part because the Brotherhood won an election and then didn't rule real nice in Egypt, and they're now all back in jail. But the Islamic Brotherhood, what is that the name? In Egypt, right? Yeah, those folks did support Hamas, and so you got General Sisi, our new Mubarak, kind of sitting there, enjoying his billions of dollars of weapons from the United States. It's a shame.
It's rough stuff.
So who's going to finally broker peace? Because Kerry doesn't. I mean, Kerry's having a rough time, poor guy. Did Israel tap Kerry? Like, didn't they phone tap him or wiretap him?
They've learned from the best. They've learned from the NSA, clearly.
Yeah.
Well, to be able to do that, you actually have to have strong leadership within those groups of people. And Mahmoud Abbas, I'm not real clear about him. I don't even really know who's running the show with Hamas. And then you've got Benjamin Netanyahu, I think is a consummate politician, but his governance leaves something to be lacking. He operates more like a demagogue, really, whipping people up kind of into a frenzy.
I think that the international community is just not a significant player in what's happening there. I think that, I mean, if there's any country in the world that has shown that they've got their own idea of what their priorities are and they're going to pursue them, it's Israel. And they have a way that they're dealing with this, and they're dug in on it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, barring some kind of, some other level of involvement or action by the international community, it's just they're going to do what they're going to do.
Honestly, I don't even think it would be the international community. It would have to be the United States. And there's no political will in the United States to really kind of change the nature of our relationship with the Israelis. And, some of it is totally understandable. I mean, Israel remains the only democratic state in that whole region. So I get that. But at the same time, the last president who really went toe-to-toe with the Israelis about the settlements, which has been a huge obstacle to peace, was the first Bush with, who was his Secretary of State? The Velvet Hammer, James Baker. That's what they called him, I think, in Time magazine or something. But they were definitely, they pushed the Israelis really hard on that. But that's when you had somebody in office in Israel who was willing to give to get. And that was Itzhak Rabin. And I think it's important to keep in mind that Rabin was not assassinated by Arabs. He was assassinated by, extreme right Israelis.
What do you think about all that, Clay?
Yeah, there's Netanyahu is, emphatic that this war is going to make, the people, like I said, broad support. 95%. I mean, that's kind of unheard of. I think it was over 90% of the Israeli population supports this Gaza war, and
right.
When you have that kind of support, it's no wonder that Netanyahu is just not moving an inch. Not only is he not moving an inch, he's not moving a centimeter, and it's like everything that's done against you doesn't have to be met with, an excessive amount of death and destruction because, somebody kidnapped an Israeli soldier and is probably,
torturing him,
pulling his fingernails out right now.
Right. But that guy's dead. They found out that guy is, he's not a captive.
Okay.
So that's been settled now, and so that takes a little bit of the pressure off of them to not have to go in. But Clay, I think we're going to let you go, and we're going to do a Skype call with Liberia.
Guys, thanks for taking my call. Take care. Keep fighting the good fight.
Good talking to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
I think that we are going to have a little discussion about the Ebola crisis in Liberia.
Another scary topic.
Yeah, and we are going to talk to our Ebola.
Jesus. Oh my gosh.
That's how they're announcing it over there. I understand. That's how people know to.
Is that the PA system?
Yeah. That's
oh, that's terrible.
A little dark humor there.
Yeah, it is.
So we got our man in Liberia.
Okay. Wow, that's some
Joshua Quinton. And
I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, he's here he is. Okay.
You ready to talk to him?
Yes, I am.
Come on in.
All right.
Can you hear me, Josh? Okay, I need to turn it back up.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah.
You talk to me for a little bit and talk to Matt, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, have you caught the disease yourself yet? Or you managed to steer clear of it?
Yeah, I'm staying pretty clear of it.
What about malaria? You got malaria yet?
Probably not. I got to wait for the incubation period to be over. Then I'll be 100% sure, but so far, so good.
I think even if you bring it back here, I think in Texas, our immune systems can handle a little bit of whatever they got over there.
That's what I'm thinking.
I had a friend who went over there on safari, and he didn't come back too worried. So.
Well, a few of the people I work with don't take it. They don't take it, and they don't take it.
You talking about the malaria medicine?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Ebola for a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you say that there was a town meeting, or was it an embassy meeting, or?
Well, there was a couple of them.
Yeah.
There was one, the staff members on last Monday, a week ago. The ambassador spoke, and she just kind of told us, what the situation was. And then the next day, they had a town hall meeting where the American citizens could come in, and it was a much bigger meeting, and that was for the public. And
how would you describe the atmosphere? How would you describe the atmosphere of that meeting?
It was a pretty big deal. It was pretty interesting. It was like watching one of those disaster movies where everybody shows up at the town hall, and the important person's at the podium talking about it, the mayor or whoever. In our case, the ambassador. And then they had some Centers for Disease Control representatives there speaking.
Was the crowd getting unruly at all, or were they shouting?
But it was funny because there were a bunch of babies. People had brought their kids, and there were too many babies crying, and like a church or something where people needed to get their babies and take them outside because the babies it's too many babies in there. But yeah, it wasn't
too crazy.
No. They had a bunch of question and answers, but
of the people that you've seen and that you've been interacting with since you've been there, are a significant number of them gone now?
What do you mean?
I mean, have the people who you've known since you've been there, are there less people at the embassy? Is it noticeably getting depopulated? Are people leaving?
No, only the non-essential staff are leaving.
Okay.
But the thing is, at the embassy, nobody's leaving but a lot of the NGOs and implementing partners and people that the embassy contracts out to, a lot of those agencies are pulling out some of their staff members. So a lot of the other agencies that are financed by the USAID, a lot of those NGOs and things, a lot of their staff are leaving.
So what's
Peace Corps leaving. The Peace Corps left, for example.
The Peace Corps left?
So no more peace in Liberia.
No more Peace Corps. Well, they're coming back. They're coming back as soon as everything blows over. But they're temporarily suspended. They'll be back.
What's another example, like outside the embassy, of something that you might encounter with regards to the Ebola situation?
Well, everywhere has chlorinated water in these big, kind of like you see in Gatorade at a football team. They have little Gatorade containers, but they're full of chlorinated water. Everybody has to wash their hands outside. And
outside what?
Any store, every store in any store, any restaurant. Before you go in any indoor building, you wash your hands with chlorinated water. And on Friday, they closed everything down. The entire city shut down, and everybody disinfected their stores and buildings and so on. And Friday was kind of a ghost town. Everybody was out. The street was empty.
Have you been outside the embassy grounds much?
Yeah, I was out today. I went to a neighborhood about 40 minutes away from here. Small, it was kind of I don't know if it's a village, but it looked like a village to me. But I think they would consider it a town. And there was no electricity out there, and we were using flashlights.
And so what were you doing out there?
Visiting a friend.
And how'd that go?
It was very interesting. Very interesting.
Why?
Just seeing how people live out there. It's pretty rural. I mean, it's not rural. It's very urban, but it seems rural in the sense that there's no running water, and they have wells that they pull the water out in a bucket. That's they have a well in the ground, and they have a rope, and they pull the rope up and get their water out of there. And there's
how is it urban? Because there's buildings and stuff.
Shitloads of people out there. So, and you can walk down the road a little bit, and it's just a million cars, and horns are honking, and just hustle and bustle.
People pretty friendly, or?
Yes and no. They look mean, they look angry, but if you start talking to them, they usually get friendly.
What do you mean?
That means they look like they're pissed off, and then if you say hi to them and how are you doing, then they get really friendly and their faces light up and they get friendly.
Hey, Joshua, what is the language in Liberia? What is the spoken language? Is it English or something else?
English mainly. It's English. But I hear people speaking other languages. I don't know how many other languages there are, but I hear some other tribal languages.
So, how long have you
been? I hear a lot of French. I hear a lot of French too.
How long have you been here? Been over there at this point?
A month.
So, based on your experience or talking with people at the embassy who've been there a lot longer, like, what is different now than maybe we would have seen like a month ago in Liberia, like for a kind of day-to-day kind of difference?
Well, where I work, people aren't really sweating anything. They're pretty cool. I mean, they're not worried about it. They're not exposed to it, and they're probably not going to be exposed to it, and so they're not worried about it. But they do support any of their implementing partners, any of the NGOs that are drawing down staff. They understand the need for that to be done. It's a real pain because there were all these projects that were being worked on, and they're all kind of being suspended for the time being. So it really kind of cut into the momentum of everything else that was going on.
Hey, Josh, have you had any kind of tense interactions with the locals?
Yeah, a couple.
Well, give us an example. Give us a good example of one.
Well, everybody's trying to hustle you constantly. You have to be real careful about where you go, especially downtown. Actually, being in this village today was a lot different than being downtown.
How come?
Everybody was much more laid back. If you go downtown, I guess it's like any downtown. You have a lot of panhandlers downtown. They weren't in that smaller community that I was in today. It was much more laid back there. But downtown, you have beggars, and if you're friendly and you give one person some money, you're gonna have a horde of people. I mean, I gave one kid discreetly gave him about $1 discreetly, and all of a sudden, about 5 or 6 kids come running up out of nowhere, mobbing me, and we were getting into a cab, and they started mobbing the cab, and I was with my friend, and he was in the back seat, and they were mobbing me in the front seat, and they were mobbing him in the back seat, and we both had no windows to roll up. And so we're sitting there at a red light, and eventually the cab driver drives off, and I look back, and there's a guy holding on to the back, riding the back of the car. So he's riding the back of the car, holding on, like Terminator 2 or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so he rides all the way to the next stop, and then my friend in the back just gives him like $1 or $2 and just gets rid of him. I mean, the guy was that persistent that he was grabbing onto the back of the car and riding it like, Martin Fly surfboarding behind the car. It's crazy.
Well,
but
didn't you say, I saw you make a reference to something about taking a picture of a chicken or something?
Yeah, I was taking a picture of a chicken today, and 2 guys got really angry about it, and there was a big shouting match. I noticed shouting matches happen really easy here. It's just all shouting. I mean, one guy shouts, and then the other guy shouts, and my friend, who's an African guy, he started shouting back at the other African guys, and it looked like there was about to be a fist fight between the two. And then I just tried to be calm, and I introduced myself to the two guys that were angry and asked them their names, and they calmed down, and everything went back to normal. And I kind of diffused the entire thing. But my friend told me later that it was because I have a white skin, and if they see you with a camera, they think they can extort money out of you if they act like they're mad, even though they may not really be that mad.
Right.
But they see you got white skin, and they think, okay, we're gonna act like we're really mad, and then we're gonna act like we want some kind of compensation for calming us down. And that didn't happen tonight. But he was saying that was probably what their angle was.
So, do the locals seem concerned about Ebola?
Not that much, no. Not that much. I mean, not where I'm in Monrovia, and that's where the Ebola is, and there is some concern about it. But like in the cabs, when you ride, you can typically pack a car up, kind of like a circus clown car with just full of people. But now you can only have 3 people in the back and 1 person in the passenger side, and that's one of the preventions. And so now instead of 7 people in a car, you can only have 5. Which is still quite a bit.
Are they actually enforcing that?
No. I mean, they can't enforce anything here. I mean, they can have a law and they can try to enforce it, but, it's one thing to have a law, it's another thing to actually enforce it. But it's kind of being followed somewhat.
Do you have a sense on what methods the government or maybe the U.S. or international community is taking to actually educate people there about the virus and how far that actually penetrates? Because my understanding is that a majority of people in Liberia aren't able to read, and so I'm not sure exactly how this information is.
Radio.
Okay.
Use a lot of radio and a lot of mouth, word spoken. Well, no, there's definitely newspapers. They're kind of sensational. And some of them have bad advice. It's kind of interesting. It's like the newspaper is kind of a cross between a legitimate newspaper and the National Enquirer. And one day there was a newspaper right when this thing first happened, and it was front page news, and it was about a guy who had a dream that the cure to Ebola came to him in a dream. And that was on the front page of an actual paper.
Damn.
People were actually believing that stuff.
Well, wait a minute. What was the method? You don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think we're gonna let you go.
Distrust of medicine in general.
What was that? Well, I'm sorry. Say it again.
There's a lot of distrust of the government and modern medicine, and there's more of a tendency for people to believe in witch doctors.
So that's kind of like dealing with AIDS in parts of Africa, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Pope Francis is going to take care of that one, so.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, I think we're going to let you go, Josh.
All right, sounds good.
Good talking to you. Don't get Ebola.
I'll try.
Come back home.
All right, see you later.
I should go ahead and make the call to Niall.
Can y'all take that call, Nathan?
Yes, I will take that call. Let's see. Okay, this is dialing to get Niall.
Go on, A. I need you on the booth. I mean, in the studio.
Okay.
Hello.
I don't know how to mute him.
It must be Niall.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Okay, that was interesting.
We got Nathan on the air.
Okay, Nathan?
Yes.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much. This is the atheist experience, right?
Actually, this is Wall of Confusion. We come right after Atheist Experience.
I'm sorry.
Well, wait a minute. Hey, Nathan.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask about if you would have got through to Atheist Experience?
Well, my question was, I love that show. I actually haven't seen your guys' show. I apologize.
That's okay.
But my question is, I'm personally an atheist. I was actually a Christian for 18 years. I was a youth leader. I was into the whole thing, and so I can kind of see both sides.
What church were you in?
It was a Baptist, First Baptist. So
Okay.
not quite Southern Baptist. It's not quite that bad, but it was, you know, it was bad.
Okay, so so you feel like you can see both sides?
Correct. As far as what my knowledge has allowed me to do, you know, after I got out of high school, I started reading a lot of my own. I mean, when I was a kid, I was forbidden to even read anything about evolution. So it wasn't until much later in life I was actually able to educate myself.
Wow.
And so I was just curious as to those who engage. You know, I will use Christians as the main example because as far as I'm concerned, you know, like in Judaism, knowledge is really celebrated.
Right.
And, you know, that's why they have so many Nobel Prizes, of course, and Muslims have hardly any. And I was just curious as to when atheists deal with Christians, how they can, you know, not feel that overwhelming intellectual superiority that kind of comes in waves.
Well, I got a suggestion, Nathan.
Read Thomas Aquinas.
No, hey Nathan.
Yes.
You know what you got to do is you got to find, if you want to talk to Christians who are, you know, at your intellectual level, you got to find them, and it may not be. You know, American Baptists, or it may be. But, you know, you got to remember the Christian tradition has a long history of, I mean, the universities, the great universities, which led to the modern developments of science, really, were founded by the church.
True, because they were the only ones with money, and so they were the only ones that could fund it.
Right, but they did.
True.
And they funded it a great deal.
Well, the monarchies had money too. I mean, the church made it a point to do that.
Yeah, the monarchies also had money. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And some of them were patrons of, but not usually science.
Right.
I mean, Occam, you know, you talk about Occam's razor. You know, Occam was a monk from a monastery. Copernicus was a cleric. Galileo was a very observant Catholic. Descartes was a Christian. Newton was a believer. And even in modern times, George Lemaire, who kind of the author of the Big Bang Theory, was a priest. And you got to find them. But if somebody's below your intellectual level, then, you know, there's probably not much of a relationship there. I think you just got to be polite.
True, and I try my best, and that's when, you know, I pretty much have to end the conversation, because when rationality stops, I can no longer actually have a rational discussion, you know.
Well, that's interesting, Nathan. Call into our show again, and if you're interested in getting into some conversations about God or the non-existence of God or politics or anything else, friend our WOC TV Live on Facebook and get on there and talk to us.
I will do, definitely.
All right, nice talking to you, Nathan. We're going to let you go.
Great talking to you, and thank you for taking my call.
No problem.
Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Okay, I think that what we would like to do now is have a little word from our sponsor.
Long may they reign.
Oh, they will reign. Well, they're going to be here long after us and the cockroaches are gone.
That's good.
I mean, I think it's fairly safe to say. You know, and not I.
Permalab.
Before Permalab radiation shots, my dog was old, tired, and pretty much lazy. After Bodie's radiation shots from Permalab, he's back to his old, spry self, chasing balls and chasing minorities. Fetch, Bodie!
Permalab. You're either with us or you're against us.
So, what I don't like is when people, I've heard people say, Permilab, you're not with us or against us, that's ominous in some way. And I don't really think it is at all.
Some of our finest presidents have said very similar things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, why would you be against Permilab anyway? It'd be stupid.
That's true. They have all the levers.
So, I think that, Commander?
Yes, sir.
Do we got Niall on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to go in and Skype with Niall for just a little bit.
Affirmative.
Let's wait. Okay, here we go.
Hey.
Hey, how come we can't see you?
Because I don't have my camera on.
Well, turn it on, dude.
1 sec. Just bear in mind, it's 1:10 in the morning. There we go.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a handsome devil. Who
Sorry,
would have guessed?
Ginger?
Am I on the air now? I'm confused.
You are on the air.
Excellent. Excellent. What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, are you an anarchist?
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so are you, or would you say you're a libertarian maybe, or?
Morally, I'm an anarchist, but realistically, I'm a libertarian.
Okay. So anarchy is the ideal.
Yeah, anarchy is. I understand that government is wrong, but I understand as well that it's not going to be a situation that's going to change in my lifetime. So, I'm a libertarian for all intents and purposes. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the issues we've been hitting today? Gaza, Crimea.
Oh, where to start? I think my opinion on Gaza is definitely. I think it's close to, if not technically, a genocide. What Israel are pulling off against the Palestinian people. Now, that's not a defense of Hamas. I want to make that clear as well, because a lot of very right-wing Americans believe that, Hamas, to support Palestine is to support Hamas, and I don't agree with that. I do think Hamas do need to change their tactics as well. I mean, but on the only reason they were elected is because Israel have been occupied, Palestine has been occupied for nearly 100 years now by the Egyptians, by the Ottoman Empire, by the British, by the Israelis. And, I mean, just today, we've seen on the news, the UN's declared it a war crime that Israel have bombed another hospital. They bombed UN buildings recently full of people in, and, it's not an accident, it's not collateral damage. It's very much deliberate attack, and I think it's sick, to be honest. Crimea, that's a completely different issue. I think that's what do you guys think on? Who is this fine fella to the left? I haven't been watching the show.
I'm sorry, this is Matthew White. He's on Wall of Confusion.
Ah, yeah, I remember. Yeah,
he's been on there a little bit.
Yeah, I recognize that.
Yeah, the Crimea thing, I think that we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out. I don't know what to think. It's really hard for us to, have the moral high ground on Russia and tell them, you can't go into a place that's in your backyard with all the places that we've gone into all over the world.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I think Russia definitely... I think Russia had a right in some sense to go into Crimea. There is a high Russian population there, and there was a demand for Russian intervention. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the coup in Ukraine was just a Western-funded coup by separatists. And, much like we've seen in Syria, much like we've seen in Libya. I mean, I'm sure you heard about that leaked phone call between the US ambassador and one of his aides basically saying, F the EU, we're going to take over Ukraine, basically. And that is what's happened. Ukraine's in the full-on civil war. It's not really in the news very much. I don't know about your guys like over there, but there's a lot of killing going on. There's a lot of bombing going on of civilian populations as well. It's very much a similar situation to Syria and Gaza right now, but it's not being reported on for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, that's how I see it. I think Russia they have some right to what they're doing, but at the same time, no one's absconded on the international community. The entire world is a complete immoral mess. Trying not to use a swear word right now. But yeah, you know.
I think it's so problematic historically. I mean, was the relocation of Russian nationals into the Eastern Bloc and the former, what were now Soviet republics, was very methodical. And it's, you know, you've got these very significant Russian populations all outside of Russia. And then you've got somebody like Vladimir Putin, and I mean, it is kind of a recipe for disaster, because he is... I have not looked into his soul, but I have seen some of his political ads where he's like, you know, like feeding baby tigers shirtless while riding a horse, and it's just very strange. Like, it's almost like some North Korean stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I think there is parallels there to the Israel situation as well. Literally, you know, in this case, the West dumping Jews into the middle of Arab territory and expecting nothing bad to happen. That's ultimately what started all this issue. But I mean, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that Putin is trying to...
Let me ask you a question about that, because
sure.
Is that, and your grasp of history might be much better than mine, but I thought the British actually fought that. I thought they specifically were trying to keep the Jews out. After World War II, were saying, no, you got to go somewhere else. You can't come here. And, you know, understandably, people who had been through the Holocaust were like, we're going to go exactly where we want to go. But that the British had actually tried to prevent that from happening, and they actually left because Zionists were blowing them up. And they finally said, forget it, we're leaving in 48.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. That's not what I've read or heard, but I'll definitely look into it.
Hey, now, I'm sorry. Real quick, we're gonna have to let you go because we're running short on time.
Yep, no problem.
But hey, what part of oh, you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Where are you located? Are you near London or?
No.
Where are you?
I'm in the north. Yeah.
What, Scotland?
That's why I don't. Not quite that far, but that's why I don't pronounce my vowels posh like Londoners.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. So you're south of Hadrian's Wall? Is it Hadrian's Wall?
Hadrian, yeah.
Hadrian.
Are you south of Hadrian's Wall?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look on the map of Britain, it's sort of quite central on the east coast. There's a little river going in, and I'm just above that river.
He's a start.
It's quite easy to find. But yeah, quite northern.
So you probably got a little Viking blood, a little Celtic blood.
Oh yeah. Look at this big ginger beard.
Yeah, we can see it. Aren't your people kind of like a subjugated minority? Isn't there a lot of racism towards towards gingers up there? I'm just kidding.
You know, no, that's quite a serious point. You know?
Is it really?
To be honest, it is quite a big source of like bullying and stuff during childhood days. But
damn,
once you get to about 16 and you start packing on muscle and beating the crap out of people who do that, it sort of stops.
Well, yeah. I mean, who wants to get the crap beat out of them?
Especially by a ginger.
All right, we're gonna let you go. Okay, Niall. Good talking to you.
All right, nice to see you, man.
See you on the wall.
Have a good one.
I think we're going to take a phone call.
On the air.
Caller?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, it's Hunter.
What's up, Hunter?
Not much. I'm hobbling my ass down the street. I'm standing in front of Harris in New Orleans.
New Orleans?
So does that mean you're handicapped or you're drunk?
I'm still nursing that broken foot.
Ah.
I must have walked about 6 miles today. Hey, so that was Neil on the phone?
It was.
I couldn't hear anything he was saying because it's kind of muffled, but I could hear you, so.
Yeah.
Did I hear that is he actually Scottish?
No, he's south of Scotland, but he is kind of up there a little bit.
And I don't know if that was muffled. That might have just been him speaking clearly.
Yeah, he's got a pretty strong accent, kind of a little bit of a Ringo Starr kind of thing.
Were you guys on Skype with him?
Yeah, we were.
So hey, I missed earlier the show. I'm obviously not watching him. I'm on the street right now. So I read something today, which I thought was bizarre. A friend of mine I went to school with in Switzerland. He's from Finland, and he posted something up there, and I haven't seen the news in a couple of days because I've been traveling. It says that, and I don't know if this is from the Finnish perspective or if this is what the U.S. news says too. But it's almost as if Putin has his eyeball trying to get Finland back.
Oh God!
Have you guys heard that? He posted a long article, but I couldn't read it because I'm on my phone. But it's talking about how Putin has his eye trying to get Finland, and is doing everything he can to keep them out of NATO, if I understand correctly.
Oh, is Finland not in NATO?
I haven't heard that. But Jesus, that doesn't sound good, man. I think I would join up if that was the issue.
The man is psycho.
Why don't we all make a pact right now that we're all going to join the army if Putin tries to take Finland?
The American army?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the Foreign Legion.
That's a good army, by the way. The American army, that's a pretty good one.
Oh, I've heard they kick ass.
Yeah, I think so.
And in French too.
I've seen pictures.
Okay, I think we're going to try to run some video before it gets too late, Hunter.
Excellent, guys. I'll see you next week.
All right, see you then.
Okay, later.
Commander?
Yes, sir.
Why don't we go ahead and run What's on Your Mind?
1 moment.
Okay, so we got a little
What's your name?
segment that
Who?
Gary and Elisa did, going out and talking to folks in the Austin area.
Joel, line 4.
Oh, okay. We're gonna take a call. Hello?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Who is this?
This is Gerard out of Austin, Texas.
Oh, all right. Are you watching us on cable?
Yeah, man. I'm a recent atheist about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I converted because when I read the Bible, Genesis, all the way to Revelation, it just basically made God is an evil person. And I tried to tell my ex-wife that. And she was like, why did you convert to atheism? What white folks have you been talking to? I said, really, it wasn't the white folks. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to get technical on the white folks, they brought religion to America, right?
Okay.
And advocated slavery with the blacks.
Right.
And I'm not racist by no means. I'm from East Texas. Originally, I just moved here last year in July.
Okay.
So my thing is, I told my ex-wife, because we really have an issue with raising our kids, and she's like, well, the only reason why I didn't want to be with you is because I feel like you're going to brainwash our kids and tell them a lie. I said, well, religion's been brainwashing people for years. It's a man-made construct that cannot be proven to even be true. So you rather believe in something without evidence that it's true. I said, that's basically what you're teaching our kids. And so she told me, she said, well, you can just stay in Austin. Don't bother coming to Texarkana. I don't want you around my kids with that type of belief. You're not going to tell my kids a lie. I said, well, the church has been telling people lies for centuries and centuries on. You only have the originals of the originals of the Bible and whatever. So what do I do about that? I mean, I don't want to stay away from my kids because of my belief system.
Did y'all ever come to an agreement?
No, we argued last night about it. I mean, we got into a heated argument about my belief system.
Well, think about it like this. How old are your kids?
DJ, he is 4, and my daughter, she is 3, and she said she has a friend. Cause we got divorced because she was a selfish woman, and she was a holy roly Christian woman too.
Right.
Well, her stepdad, which is a preacher, he molested her when she was I thought she was 10 till she was 15.
Well, that's fine.
So I'm like, okay, where was your God then when you was getting molested by a preacher? Where was he at then?
Well, but you figured out that religion wasn't true on your own.
Right.
Well, you know what you ought to do is pitch it to the kids in an imaginative way, kind of like a fairy tale, and then they'll believe it while they're young, and then they can decide later if they want to go like with their father or with their mother.
Right, and then she was telling me about the belief of Santa Claus, right?
But what about the video segments?
She was telling me about the belief of Santa Claus, and she was like, well, when you tell the kids the beauty of Santa Claus when they're younger, then you tell them when they're older, it shouldn't affect them. I said, that's the same way with the belief of God. So, to me, adults that still believe in God, still believe in Christianity, they're still like little children. They believe that they're going to go to a magical place, they're going to be floating around in clouds, blah, 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 you know, seeing their grandparents.
Well, not only that, but it actually says in the Bible that you're supposed to become like little children, so it's already in there.
Exactly, yeah. One of the things that Jesus said, it said, and I also pointed it out too. I said in Isaiah verse 16, it said your past troubles will be wiped away, and then it goes on to say in 17 that there's total memory wiped away. So how are you going to go? How are you going to remember to be judged by something you don't remember you did?
That's a good question. But hey, we're gonna. Hey, thanks for calling in. We're gonna have to let you go because we're about to wrap it up. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take another call.
Joseph on line 1. Hurry.
Hello, line 1.
I told you. You're going to hell for supporting the Jews.
Commander, this guy's an anti-Semite. Drop him.
Done.
Okay, we really want to show you our video segments. We have some great video segments that Perry...
I'm here with Angela to find out what's on her mind. Angela, what is on your mind?
Jesus Christ.
Okay, that's what's on her mind.